The Native Instruments Komplete Audio 6 already has two really great microphone preamps on it. But what do you do if you want to use more than just two microphones? What if you want to use 3 microphones, 4 microphones? Well, in that case, we would use something called a microphone pre-amplifier, or a microphone preamp for short. Now, we have a couple here that we're going to look at. So in this video, we're going to look at how to use a microphone preamp with our Komplete Audio 6. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, before we hook everything up, I just want to go over the equipment real quick here, and then we'll hook it up and actually see it being used. So here we have a couple different tube preamps, and these are both tube preamps, and the exact controls that you have are going to differ based on if it's a tube preamp, based on if it's a transistor based on if it's some sort of effects unit. Maybe it has its own DA and AD in it that you can maybe hook it up with SPDIF, which we have a video about SPDIF. And also, I would suggest you check out the first video, the unboxing video for our Komplete Audio 6, so you're up to speed on, just basic operation of this unit. In this video, we're going to focus on this Tube UltraGain mic preamp. Okay, it has 2 discrete outputs, which basically means that we can input 2 different microphones and get 2 completely separate outputs, unlike something like a mixer, which you could hook a mixer up to your Komplete Audio 6 and say run it into 3 and 4 here. But with the mixer, even if you're hooking up 5 different microphones, most mixers are only going to give you 2 channels out. So it's going to take all those, the 5 microphones, 8 microphones, whatever, and sum that all down into just 2 channels. So you're not actually going to be able to edit individual channels in your DAW. All right, so that's just a quick aside there. So let's go ahead and look over our tube preamp. And as you should know, we already have 2 inputs, 2 mic inputs, 2 really good mic inputs, by the way, on our Komplete Audio 6, which we've covered in that first unboxing video. Okay, and it also, of course, has 48-volt phantom power. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to do our tube preamp here. Now on this unit, we can choose microphone or line. I just want you to be aware that there are a lot of different setups for tube preamps and microphone preamps in general. The concepts here will apply to all of them. Just read the manual so you know what exactly everything does for your specific preamp. Okay, now of course we have the 48-volt phantom on or off, and we would use the 48-volt phantom whenever we're using say a condenser microphone. We wouldn't need 48-volt phantom for a dynamic microphone. Okay, that's just basics of how microphones work. All right, so we would use 48-volt there, and we have 48-volt on this tube preamp as well. It's a button, while this is a switch. Now on this preamp, we have what's called mic trim, which is going to affect the input signal, so we can really get a lot of boost up to 60 dB on this unit. Again, consult your manual for your exact preamp. Moving on, we have a phase reverse switch. Turn that on or off. Now, of course, we can always reverse the phase. Once we're in our DAW, this is going to be up, I'm just leave that up to you whether or not you use phase reverse. You'd probably leave it off unless for some reason you need, to change the phase by 180 degrees. Now on this preamp, we also have phase reverse. It's a button. Again, same control, implemented a little bit differently. Very important to realize that. Again, consult your manual. And on this preamp, we have a frequency control and a high pass. So we can turn on that high pass and go all the way up to 350 hertz. Now this is something that I would not just set it somewhere, turn on your high pass and then start recording, because you may find that once you get in your mix, that wow, say you put it on 250, you're recording acoustic guitar, or maybe a singer, and you're saying, it sounded good in isolation, but now once it's in the mix, now I've lost power in the low end. You're always going to be better off, in my opinion, to take this down slightly. Okay, if you think it sounds great at 250, take it down a bit, just so you have some extra frequencies to play with. You can always, once you start mixing, you can always throw an EQ on there and do a high pass. Now, what a high pass is, it does exactly what it says. A high pass means that the highs pass, meaning that the lows don't pass. So high pass or low cut is what this is. It basically puts a frequency. It's going to depend on your exact hardware. So again, consult that manual. Now, should you use the high pass? Maybe, maybe not. Again, you can always leave it off, and then once you're into mixing, you can throw a high pass on there with your favorite plugin. Okay, but if you want to set it up if you're going to set it up with the high pass on, do a couple of takes first to make sure you're not cutting out too much. You know, it may sound great cutting out 350 and using your high pass. That may sound great in isolation. You may cut out a lot of boxiness, but those frequencies that you interpreted as boxiness in isolation may actually add some power to the low end. Say with an acoustic guitar or something, it may add a little bit of power in that low end that you may miss. So again, you may want to leave it off, you may want to leave it on. Whatever you choose, set it somewhere, then back off a little bit and make sure you do a couple passes before you commit to it, because you can't change what isn't there. If it's there, you can always edit it fully in your DAW. If it's not there, there's some things you can do to maybe try to boost what's there, but without all of the signal there to work with, you may have to retake that performance, okay? So this has a high pass and a frequency control. Again, consult your manual for whatever, tube preamp you're using. We do not have a high pass or any kind of EQ, compression, anything on this preamp. And you may have other controls as well. Okay, so again, consult that manual. Moving on, now we have a level control, which is going to control the level of the tube stage. So we have a couple different gain controls on this one. And then over here, we have a warmth, which sort of controls the amount of that tube, that tubey sound, that pleasing distortion, the added harmonics, nonlinear distortion, I guess you might say, that we're going to really add in there. Now, this is actually a really interesting subject. Nonlinear distortion, harmonic distortion, odd versus even distortion. We're not going to get into that here. It's way off subject, but I would definitely suggest you check out a video from Dave Hill of Crane Song. He's the guy who made Avid Heat, which Avid Heat, by the way, you no longer have to have HD hardware to use it. You have to have Pro Tools HD, but you don't have to have HD hardware to use it. So check out that video to learn a lot about distortion, about tubes, about why adding basically noise, harmonics, sounds good and pleasing to the ear. So check out that video. I'll link it, in the description so you can learn more about tubes and distortion, tape, and things like that. All right, so here we are on the back of the unit, and I just want to cover one more thing. Basically, the use of balanced or unbalanced cables. Now, you're probably going to have balanced inputs and outputs for your mic preamp. Now, on the Komplete Audio 6, we do have balanced, here's our 3 and 4 input, which is what we're going to use. We do have balanced inputs. All right, now, my balanced cables are currently being used so I can actually record this video. I should probably buy more. Obviously, they're not that expensive, but we're going to use unbalanced cables. Now, this is an unbalanced cable, okay? Now, I'll cut in my balanced cables. You can see the tip ring sleeve. Now, I'm not going to get into balanced cables versus unbalanced cables. Now, this particular unit is able to detect the presence of an unbalanced cable, so it like adjusts with the servo or something, the output signal by 6 dB or something like that. Again, consult your manual. If you have to use balanced cables, then just go ahead and get some, but you can use unbalanced cables. Okay, let's grab this here. So here is another unbalanced cable, a guitar cable. These are unbalanced. You can see it just only has the one ring there, just the tip and sleeve. Okay. Now, another thing you might notice, if you've ever, if you have a cell phone and say headphones, you may notice cables like this. Now you can see these actually have 3 rings on them. So our balanced cable will have 2 rings. Okay. Now this is specific to the phone because that third is for communication. All right. So, because you can actually, there's actually a microphone in here. All right. So if you want to test this out on your phone, it's really easy. You can always plug in your headphones. Just plug it in just a halfway, just so you're getting that one ring, and then listen to the music and you'll hear that it's all in mono. Then plug it in the rest of the way, and all of a sudden the world is going to open up to you. You're going to hear that stereo signal. But it's important to realize that using a balanced cable, which would look like this, of course it's going to be 1/4 inch more than likely, isn't necessarily stereo. It does carry mono signal. Now what it's going to do is going to take the same signal and it's going to invert by 180 degrees. Then it's going to reverse, and then it will be back in phase again. And that in theory should reduce noise, giving you an overall technically cleaner signal. Now this does not always hold true. Sweetwater has a good rundown of balanced versus unbalanced cables. There's plenty of audio gear, very expensive audio gear that's only going to use unbalanced outputs, unbalanced inputs, and they sound fantastic. You know, they cost more than all of my equipment combined. So don't think that using unbalanced means a bad signal, and don't think that all of a sudden buying balanced cables is going to make a huge difference, especially in a short run like this. Now, it may make a big difference in a longer run, but you know, on prosumer style gear like this, is probably not going to make a huge difference. I don't want to discourage you from getting balanced cables. I definitely think you should, especially if you have balanced inputs and outputs, you know, on your equipment. You know, you might as well. Okay, but you know, if you start off with a cable like this, see how thin it is, and it's unbalanced, and then you all of a sudden go to a balanced cable that is much thicker, and then you hear a huge difference. Well, it's probably not because it's balanced. It's probably because it's actually a better quality cable. Okay, so just, you know, don't confuse yourself. Get good cables. Again, definitely go ahead and invest in some balanced cables. These are balanced. They suggest you use balanced. You don't have to. We're going to use unbalanced because that's all I have, because as I said, my other ones are being used right now, so I can actually record this. So we're going to use unbalanced. You're going to see that it's going to work just fine, okay? How are we going to hook this up, which is the whole point of this video? How do we hook this up? Very easy, you know, just basic signal routing. Now we're going to use, for the input, we'll connect a microphone to an XLR cable. All right. Now this is a dynamic microphone, so we wouldn't need to turn on the 48-volt phantom, okay? So a dynamic mic here, again, it could be a condenser, and then just turn on the 48-volt. Everything else is going to be exactly the same. And then this is our input, okay? You can see right here, input. Then we plug the other end into the input. Now this is channel 2. You'd probably start off with channel 1, but this is channel 2. Okay, because this one has 2 channels. This mic pre only has 1 channel. All right, again, depends on what you're using. So then the microphone is connected. Then we have to connect the output. All right, which you see here, here's the output. And of course we have 2 options. We can use XLR, or we can use a 1/4 inch balance. And technically we can use unbalanced as well, which is what we are going to do. Now for the Komplete Audio 6, we don't have an XLR input. So if we were going, let me just unplug this so you can see. If we were going to use a XLR cable, the female end, of course, for the output. Okay, if we're going to use an XLR cable and try to plug that into our Komplete Audio 6, we can't. Now we could plug it into the front, but that doesn't make much sense because now we're going to be taking up a mic input just so we can use a different mic input. Now, maybe that's what you want. I wouldn't suggest it. I just wouldn't suggest it. You can technically do it, but I wouldn't suggest it. All right. So if you want to use XLR going out, then you'd want to get an XLR to 1/4 inch, you know, but make sure it's balanced, 1/4 inch balance, and then you can plug that into your ends on 3 and 4. All right. Or you can just use a balanced or even unbalanced 1/4 inch cables, which is what we're going to do. So what we'll do to connect it, you plug it in like so, and then you plug the output into the input of our Komplete Audio 6, whatever channel you want, either 3 or 4. We're going to do both at the same time, of course. And there you go. And then you'll go into your DAW. We're going to use Pro Tools, and you'll just set up the input. And it's really that easy. So I think we've pretty much covered everything. That's basically how everything will be connected. All right, where is my microphone? There we go. So microphone, okay, XLR, into the input, and then the output of channel 2, cable, boom, and then cable to the in. All right, so we have input, microphone, going to the input of our mic preamp, and then the output of our mic preamp, down here, output, going through this cable into the input of our Komplete Audio 6. All right, so let's go use this on the computer now and actually see it in action. All right, so here we are at the computer, and we actually have Pro Tools already opened up. All right, now you probably wouldn't do it like this. You'd probably have everything hooked up first, everything powered on, you know, except of course our monitors, which are off. Always make sure the monitors are the first thing you turn off and the last thing you turn on, okay? But we already have this connected to our computer, as you can see, plugged in there. So let's go ahead and hook up our mic preamp. And of course we could use this mic preamp here. You know, if you have a couple of these, which again, these are single output. Okay, you could use a couple of these and just run each one of them, you know, one of them into the N3 and one of them into in number 4 there, if you wanted to use, you know, 2 single ones. But let's just focus on this mic pre, which has 2 discrete channels. Okay, so here are, I guess I need to hook this up to our monitors, which again, they're off. So of course these are balanced cables that I was talking about earlier here. Okay, so that's balanced cables. Those of course will go into our output, and make sure I get this right. I always have them, everything labeled. So this goes into the left output. This is for our monitors. You don't, you know, this is not specific to our preamp. This is just basic connections, so we can hear what's going on. All right, so that's our monitors. Now we need to connect our microphones to our mic pre, and again, it's turned off. Make sure it's turned off. So what microphones should we use? Let me grab some here. Okay, so I think we'll use our dynamic here, which is already plugged in, but we'll unplug it. Okay, so plug in your mic. Pow, all right. This is a dynamic mic. We're gonna put our dynamic microphone on, oh, I say just channel 2. Let me grab the other end of the cable. So this is our microphone. The microphone, of course, goes into the input. Okay, input, this is channel 2. Hopefully you can see right there, it says channel 2. All right, and then we have to connect the output of our preamp into the input of our Komplete Audio 6. So we'll grab a cable, and just because I want a really long cable, we're just going to use unbalanced guitar cables. You know, that's what this is, a guitar cable. You know, it's called a guitar cable. Most people will know it as a guitar cable. It's a 1/4 inch unbalanced cable is what it is. All right, so we'll take it from the output right here. Again, consult your manual. You know, if you have a digital effects unit that has SPDIF, you could use SPDIF as well, and we've covered SPDIF in a different video. So one end goes into the output. The other end, since this is channel 2, we're going to throw this into 4 just because it makes sense that way. All right, so can you see the signal flow here? Microphone going into the preamp, okay, in, and then going out of the preamp here and into the Komplete Audio 6. All right, basic signal routing, very easy. Now we'll use, say, a condenser microphone, and grab one here. We'll just use a small pencil condenser. There we go. So microphone is connected to the cable. And then of course the other end goes into the input of our mic preamp. Okay, and actually, you know what, I instead of using this small condenser, I think I'm going to use a larger diaphragm condenser. Okay, so here's a larger diaphragm condenser. Of course, I had to take it off the stand so I could actually show it here. We'll go ahead and plug that in. Same exact thing applies. Plug it in. Okay, and then the other end, of course, is going to go. This cable's coming apart. It doesn't matter though. It's still connected, so we'll go into the input, obviously. Make sure I got it in there right. Okay. Cable into microphone. Goes into the input of your microphone preamp. And then what do? You will have to connect the output of the preamp into the input of your Komplete Audio 6. Otherwise, we're not going to get sound. That should be obvious. So again, just because we need a long cable here, we're going to use another guitar bass, you know, cable, unbalanced. And that of course goes from the output. This is channel 1, which I guess you can't really see it very well, but this is channel 1 right here. So the output of channel 1, so input of channel 1, output of channel 1. And the layout of your, you know, specific preamp is going to be different. So we'll throw that in there. And then channel 1 will go into the input of channel 3 of our Komplete Audio 6. So this is your basic setup. Okay, so let's turn all this stuff around. Keep in mind how this is set up. Okay, microphone goes into the input of your preamp, and then the output of your preamp right here goes into the input of your Komplete Audio 6. Basic signal routing, not that hard. Just think it through. Okay, so we're going to turn this around now, and we'll hop into Pro Tools and see this in action. All right, so now we have everything hooked up. We're all turned around. This microphone's hooked up to our preamp, and this microphone's hooked up to our preamp. And as we saw, all of that is ran into inputs 3 and 4 of our Komplete Audio 6. Now, you know, we already have mic inputs on our Komplete Audio 6, so why not use those as well? So I have one more. Actually, I have more mics. I'm out of cables at this point. You know, I have a bunch of stuff hooked up that you can't even see. on camera. So this is a condenser microphone right here. All right. So we've plugged that into input 1 here on our Komplete Audio 6. And of course, we have to turn on the 48-volt phantom because it's a condenser microphone. Okay, so now we have 3 microphones running in. Now, I have more microphones, but I think I'm out of XLR cables, or at least I can't find them at the moment. So why don't we use this other input, and why don't we put a guitar into this input? So we'll use all 4 inputs, not including the SPDIF, which we could use that as at the same time as well if we wanted to. We could connect our 11 rack via SPDIF, and that'd be pretty cool. You're not limited that much with the Komplete Audio 6. 6 in, 6 out. That's pretty cool for something this price. It's a really great interface. So let me go grab a guitar cable here. Okay, and we'll just throw this in here. There we go. Make sure that's on. Okay, so now, of course, we'd have to set up the gain there. And I'm just tapping on this microphone here. And I don't know if you can see that, but we are definitely getting input. Okay, that's the microphone connected directly to the Komplete Audio 6. Just for now, let me unplug this guitar just because it's a right angle cable and it's kind of getting in my way. But we're going to use a guitar there. Okay, now we need to power on our preamp. Let's go and power that on. Make sure, okay, let me move this out of the way. We want to make sure that we don't have 48 volt on. Make sure your monitors are off, which our monitors are still off, okay? So we're going to power this on. And again, this is going to depend, greatly on your exact preamp. Okay, so that is all turned on now. Again, it's, still connected to our Komplete Audio 6. Now you have to remember the way this is connected. Channel 3, channel 4. This is channel 3 is going to be channel 1 on our preamp. Channel 4 is channel 2 on our preamp. So, keep that in mind. And channel 2 was our dynamic microphone. So let's go with channel 2 first. All right, which is channel 1, channel 2, channel 1, channel 2, channel 1, channel 2. So we want this on microphone. We do not need 48 volt phantom for our dynamic. So we'll leave that off. Now we can adjust the mic trim. Let me go and turn this mic on. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but we're getting a little bit of activity. Channel 2, so I'm going to adjust the trim. Let's just pull it way up. And now hopefully you can see it's peaking. And if I can get a good angle on this, which is kind of tough, hopefully you can see that meter right here is indeed moving. And we're peaking, so that is way too hot. Now, normally, this is going to be in a rack, but it's hard to, video this and show it. Okay, so we are definitely way too hot. So we'll pull that down. And this is something you're going to, of course, adjust at the source. I'd be speaking into this or singing into it, to get my level set up right. All right. But that's just basic, the basic stuff here. As far as this other stuff, I don't want phase reverse. I'm not going to use the high pass. And this is our level. So if I jack that way up for channel 2, it's a dynamic mic, so we're not getting any peaking. You can adjust that as you want. And then again, channel 2 tube, we can adjust right there. So this is indeed working. And you can see that we are getting on channel 4, we're getting the input. All right. Let me go and turn on my monitors here. All right, so now we have the monitors turned on there. And of course, Pro Tools is open now. Again, this is channel 4. You can see we're getting input. And even if we're monitoring, we're not hearing anything here. Okay. But let me head over into Pro Tools, look at this real quick, and then we'll hook up everything else. So over here in Pro Tools, I already have a channel set up. Go to the input. Now this is going to depend on the DAW that you're using. So what we want is input 3 and 4. So the way this is listed, input 3 is right here, input 4 is right here. Okay, so input 4, if I monitor this, now you should hear, I should be getting input into this channel, which I'm not. Check the IO real quick. and I'll just default it and default it and default that. Okay. Channel 3 and 4, input. And we're not getting input. Now we're getting input in here. You see, we're not getting any output. All right, so we had to restart Pro Tools there. You know, keep that in mind. That's always the number one troubleshooting step, is restart your DAW. So now it is working. You know, I'm leaving this in the video to show that sometimes you're going to need to restart things. So once again, microphone into channel 2 of our preamp, which is into channel 4 on the input of our Komplete Audio 6. I'm tapping. You can see we're getting the input there. Over here in Pro Tools, we already have a mono track created because this is a mono signal. All right. And once again, the input is 4. All right. And then I'll monitor this track, and you can see instantly I'm getting input. You can hear. I can talk into the microphone, and you can hear that. You can see it in Pro Tools. Now, you wouldn't want to do this too loud, or you're going to end up getting a feedback loop. Okay, so be aware of that. All right, so this is working. As you can see there, I've turned it on, of course. So this is 4, the input 4 on our Komplete Audio 6. Again, channel 2 on our preamp. You're going to have to just remember what you plug everything in. Again, it's basic signal routing. So it's input 4 on Komplete Audio 6, which would of course mean in Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, that input would be 4. And the way these are listed is input 3, input 4, input 3, input 4. The left is input 3, right is input 4. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, you can always go into your I/O and change how those are named. But this is the default. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our other microphone here, which it's kind of hard to have this in frame while I do this. I guess, yeah, I can't really get it in frame. But we know this mic here is connected to input 3 of our Komplete Audio 6, input 1 of our preamp. And again, here's 1. We know this is a microphone, so we turn on the microphone. We know this is a condenser, so we turn on 48 volt phantom. Immediately, you can see that, we were clipping there for a second. Yeah, there we go. So you can see we're clipping. So it's way too much on the trim. Pull that down a bit. Okay, now we have our phase reverse. Our high pass is on. Okay, let's just leave it on. I'll just turn it down. Again, you may want to leave that off and just do it in your DAW later on. And then here's our level input, which hopefully you can see that meter moving. I can actually turn up the trim a bit. There we go, that's better. All right, and then I can adjust the tube. Again, this depends on your exact preamp. And you can see that we're getting input, constant input. So it's actually a bit loud. We shouldn't be getting constant input there. So you just have to adjust this. There we go. That's pretty good. As long as you're not clipping, I guess you're going to be okay. It's all about, gain staging. So again, over here in Pro Tools, in order to actually hear this, we'll take that off. I'll hit Control-Shift-N. Again, I'm on PC and Pro Tools. Let's go ahead and make 4 tracks, mono tracks, create. Okay. And actually, we didn't even need that many. I'm going to delete this one. We only need 4. And just for, so you can tell what all of this is, we're going to call this Dyne mic. I'm going to put 2 because it's on channel 2 of the preamp. I could say 4, which this is really more about the Komplete Audio 6. So we'll say 4 because we know it's input 4. This will be our cond. Okay, mic, con for condenser, mic, and we'll put 3 because it's on input 3 of our Komplete Audio 6. This will be our cond mic, condenser mic, that is on input 1 of our Komplete Audio 6. And this will be our guitar. We'll put 2 because it's on input 2 of our Komplete Audio 6. So now we have a layout that we can actually see. Now, you wouldn't have to name your tracks like this, of course. You could always put comments down here of exactly what they are, or, whatever DAW you're using, but we'll just do it like this just for, so it's easy for everyone to see. So our condenser mic 3, which is this microphone right here, which is plugged into input 3 of our Komplete Audio 6. We've already set up channel 1, which is what this is plugged into. Microphone, 48 volt, we've set it up. Channel 1. Okay. So for the input for this, very easy interface, and it's going to be this one right here, input 3. Input 3, input 4.L. L is number 1 in this series, which would mean it's input 3. I know that's hard to understand, but if you come up here to the I/O, it's going to make complete sense. So input, you can see input 1 and 2 are set up in a stereo like this, and then mono and mono. The input 3 and input 4, you can see how they're set up right here. So again, we could always change this. I could even name this microphone if I wanted to, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, so we have this set up with input 3. Monitor it. Okay, so now we have this track monitored, our condenser 3, which is right here, and you can probably already hear it. You probably can't see this just because of the glare, but we're definitely getting input here. And you can see that we are getting input right there on input 3. So that is how, let me go and turn on this mic. That is how you would use a mic preamp with, let me monitor that track too. All right, that's how you would use a mic preamp with your Komplete Audio 6. I can't get this too loud or we're going to start getting a lot of feedback, but you can definitely see we're getting input in Pro Tools from both of these microphones. Now, I have 48 volt phantom on for, let me grab this mic, for this mic right here, which we have plugged in right here. So we'll go ahead and turn the gain up here, and you can see, just me speaking, we're getting the input. Okay, so we're getting input. Let me turn on our dynamic again. Okay, so now you can see all of this input that we're getting. And in Pro Tools, let me turn these off. And we already have this mic set up here. So condenser 1 mic. This input, again, is on input 1. So we'll choose input 1. Monitor the track. Let me turn this down. Monitor the track, and you can definitely see we're getting input from this microphone, which I can I turn it up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to get feedback there, but you can definitely see we're getting the input from all of our microphones right there. So that's 3 microphones. Now, if I had another cable, which they're all, you can't see it, but they're over here on my 11 rack there, and all that equipment over there. If I had a free cable, I could plug in another mic, but let's grab a 1/4 inch and we'll plug that in right here. And the other end, of course, is going to go into an electric guitar. And over here in Pro Tools, this interface, the input will be input 2. Now, that would be this one right here. 2 is the right in this case. So channel 2, let me grab a guitar here. Turn up the input gain. I don't even have a pick on me, but you can definitely see we're getting input in 2. If I speak louder, I can get the dynamic microphone to pick up. Of course, I could adjust the trim there and the input, so that way I don't have to talk so loud to get input. So now, strum the guitar, talk, and you can see we're getting input. All 4 of those channels. I'll monitor the guitar track in Pro Tools, and of course I have to turn this up. Can't go too loud because again our mics are live, so we're gonna get feedback. But things out of tune. So I actually just restrung it the other day. But you can definitely hear we're getting input. You can see we're getting input. Okay. All 4 of the inputs are 3 microphones and the guitar. All right, now of course we could record or just, I gotta turn that down, we're gonna get feedback. We can monitor all of these sources at once. I'll try to turn up a little bit, again, we're gonna get feedback because we're doing this live. Do it live. Okay, so look there in Pro Tools. You can see we're getting input of all of those. Hey, why just mess around? We'll go ahead and record all of this. Just so I can show you, you can record all 4 tracks, all 3 microphones, 4 microphones if you had it, all at the same time with your Komplete Audio 6 and a mic preamp there for your other two microphones. So you see we're getting level. Of course, we're not getting very loud of a level on our dynamic mic because it's not close to my face, but that is to be expected. So there we go. There we go. And now you have let me turn this down. And now you have 4 discrete tracks in Pro Tools. And by discrete, I mean, we can edit each of these individually. Okay. So they're not, they're not summed together. So that is, why you want to use a preamp instead of just say using a mixer and running a bunch of things into a mixer, because then you're going to end up with just 2 channels, a 1 stereo channel. More than likely, it depends on the mixer actually, but there you go. That is how you use a mic preamp with your Komplete Audio 6. Really easy. It's just basic signal routing and understanding your specific mic preamp. Okay, so that's really all you need to know. You'll have to consult the manual for your exact microphone preamp. But we got, as you saw, we got both of these microphones here, which are plugged into our preamp, and then the output of the preamp is run into our Komplete Audio 6, and then we just set that up in Pro Tools, choosing the correct input and output. Well, the correct input. The output, of course, is going to be 1 and 2, unless you want to send it through 3 and 4 for some reason, which you can do, but we want 1 and 2 because that's what our monitors are plugged into. Okay, so it's just a matter of choosing the correct input for your Komplete Audio 6 in your DAW, and you're going to be all set up. It's really just that easy, just connecting your microphone preamp. Again, you probably want to use balanced cables on a short run like this. It probably won't make that much of a difference, but they're not really that expensive. Definitely invest in some. You can grab them on Amazon, Musician's Friend, Sweetwater, whatever. Again, check the description below for that article on balanced versus unbalanced on Sweetwater. It's a really good article. And I believe that's all you need to know on how to connect a microphone preamp to our Komplete Audio 6. And then you can use 4 microphones. Now, in our case, we use 3 microphones, but as you can see, you can definitely use 4 microphones. 2 on your Komplete Audio 6 and then 2 on your preamp, or even if you have like smaller preamps, you could just use 2 smaller preamps and run each one of those, individually into your Komplete Audio 6. Very easy, basic signal routing, how to use a microphone preamp with your Komplete Audio 6. Having a mic preamp, it's a very useful tool that you will not regret the purchase of a mic preamp, even if it's just a single channel mic preamp. They come in handy all the time. Using with our Komplete Audio 6, we can expand the amount of microphones we're using to 4 total microphones. Of course, if you have some sort of outboard gear that's digital that has PDIF, then you could expand that even further. Okay, but like having a setup like this, you can of course have a vocal mic. You could have a room mics. Maybe these 2 are room mics, or I have an acoustic guitar here, so I could we could play guitar, and we could play guitar maybe through this mic, or maybe we would use like a couple of these smaller condensers pointed directly at our acoustic guitar, and then we could still have a vocal mic, so that's 3 mics. And then we can have another mic for a room mic, or for another acoustic guitar player, or whatever the case may be. 4 mics. You could record a drummer, a full kit with 4 mics. That's doable. Although you'd probably want at least 8 channels. But again, that's just my opinion. You can do it with 4 mics. But who really cares about the drummer? I have all kind of stories about drummers. Drummers are horrible, just horrible people. So one day I go to band practice, all right, at the drummer's house. I arrive on time, go knock on the door, like, yo, it's time to practice. No one answered the door. Continue knocking. I know he's there because his car is there. And I keep knocking and no one is answering. So what am I gonna do? I just gotta leave, right? So I just leave. I just drive around for like an hour, go like buy some music or something at a store, and eventually he calls me, and just suffice to say, he had his hands full. We're not gonna go into any more details, but he was busy with other things, and that's a drummer. That's what a drummer is, and he's probably watching this. So. But yeah, drummers are just the worst people in the world. Actually, I'm just poking fun. He actually gave me this preamp there. He didn't want it anymore. But hopefully you can see that preamps are very useful. Hopefully this answered your questions about using your Komplete Audio 6 with a microphone preamp. Again, you know, something like this Behringer is not that expensive. It's like maybe, I don't even know now. You could probably get one used for 50 bucks maybe. This brand new, I think I paid around 100 for it. You can get them now for like 60 or maybe even less. You know, single channel, of course, but still a pretty good preamp. You know, you can go more expensive. You can go 200, 300, 500,000. You know, I'm sure there's some that are probably $10,000. And I have another effects unit over there for vocals, which does output digital as well. It's pretty neat, but you know, I never use it. I really don't use that many preamps, but I do use this one from time to time. I use this one here from time to time. They really come in handy. And for something like the Komplete Audio 6, even for something like the 11 rack, which we've done a video on how to use a preamp with the 11 rack before. Same thing, same concept. Once you learn these concepts in audio, you know, whether it's the balanced cables, whether, you know, no matter what it is, how to route signals. Once you learn them, this is something you can use over and over and over again in all of audio. You know, it's you know, it's not something you have to relearn. It's not, you know, it's not magic. It's just simple audio routing. It's very simple. You know, connecting your mic to your preamplifier and then connecting the output of that channel into whatever channel you want on your interface, whether it's Komplete Audio 6 or any other interface. So even if you do not have a Komplete Audio 6, you know, all of these concepts still apply to no matter what interface you happen to be using. Okay, so that is how to use a microphone preamp with any interface, but in our case specifically, our Komplete Audio 6, a really great interface. I really enjoy this interface. Let me go check it out. Check out the first video we did, the unboxing video. Yeah, you know, to get up to speed with everything else. Really great interface, and of course you can use microphone preamp with it. You can use PDIF with it. Just a really great interface. Can't say enough about it for its price range. Really great interface. All right, that is using a microphone preamp with a Komplete Audio 6.